All right, and finally, from one superhero to another, and from one deconstruction pretty much to another, now we're finally going to talk about Logan.
Right.
The Wolverine movie to end Wolverine movies right here. Finally,
Yeah,
we got a chance to
literally
see
and
it.
metaphorically, yeah.
Yeah. But before we get into this show here, we had to talk about the history of this live action Wolverine pretty much, from when
so
X-Men came out to now.
right. I was frankly never the biggest fan of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Now, and I'm gonna say this. Right at this point, it's hard to separate him from the role. But I remember at the time I had a couple problems. One, Hugh Jackman's height.
Right. He's too tall.
Yeah, a little too tall, yeah.
Right.
And my thing was, and I think because it had other bad casting in that first X-Men film, namely Storm.
Oh yes.
Most notably Storm, Halle Berry as Storm.
You want to know what happens to a toe when it's struck by lightning?
Yeah, she didn't have the accent. She didn't have a good accent. They couldn't, for whatever reason, they couldn't get a big tall black woman, so they had to settle for the most popular black actress at the time, Halle Berry.
My thing is, well, let's talk about the first movie though, Rogue Dread. I loved the character of Rogue in the series, of course, because she's shaped, well enough and looks hot. But
Right.
I'm not knocking down Anna Paquin. I think she's a great actress, but still centering the story on Rogue for the first movie was like, why? Who cares?
Yeah,
They can't focus on Wolverine. They started off there, they just turned to, it's about Rogue now. I don't know.
Well, for me, that first film was a movie that just came and went. We can kind of talk about the X-Men movies because we're gonna get into the whole continuity thing.
Yeah.
What this movie does with that, in my opinion, quite intelligently. The first film it was a movie that really bring comic book movies kind of really on the map. Like,
Yeah.
Blade was kind of okay, but Blade didn't bring it on the map. Even though I like Blade more than the first X-Men film.
Me too, all the way.
But it just other than Batman and Superman, it didn't have a big popular comic book franchise that came to film. And X-Men was like the first to really do this.
Yeah.
X-Men, so when the X-Men came out, people was like, all right, well, this kind of works. And those X-Men films, the first Bryan Singer film, especially first and second one, really kind of just existed in a vacuum.
Yeah, although I love X2 because for me, it did what a sequel did. It just stepped its game up. It was bigger,
Right.
it was bolder, it was better in all respects, actually.
But
Even
for
right
me,
down to
it was
acting.
still, but even that was still kind of forgettable. And the only hype that film had, I remember, was, well, it had Phoenix at the end under the water.
And Nightcrawler.
That was it.
That scene, that scene.
And you're right, but the opening Nightcrawler
Yeah.
scene. Remember
That
just
Nightcrawler scene, man. Come on.
in terms of just sheer hype, a lot of people didn't really give a shit over time now because it didn't live up to the hype. And then by the time Marvel hit in 2008 with their MCU, people really started stopped to care about the X-Men franchise.
Yeah, but remember before that there was X-Men: The Last Stand.
Right? No. By X3 it was a mess.
I didn't care for
as I say, because the hype just went away. X3 was just a total disaster for a lot of people.
Yeah, the story made no sense. They kill off Cyclops, who I never was a fan of in the movies to begin with, but I mean, why? And then the stupid thing about Jean Grey being the Dark Phoenix and being so evil and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, nothing about that made sense.
made
because
sense.
I remember that it was stupid and
even Beast and all too, like Kelsey Grammer looked like he like he looked like he was embarrassed by just being in all that black not black, all that blue prosthetics and stuff. It was like,
that's the thing. He was like the only good thing in that film. But the thing is, they totally missed the point of how Phoenix should be. She was more acting like Scarlet Witch now. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, but getting to Hugh Jackman and focusing on Wolverine, by then the franchise kind of died a little bit, right? So they decided to do this origin stuff. They said, okay,
my god, X-Men Origins Wolverine, which came out a year after Iron Man. So imagine how Marvel felt when the reception was so negative.
Right, exactly. And X-Men Origins Wolverine, for a lot of people, just completely shat the bed, right?
Oh my god.
So a total mess.
And here's the thing, I saw, well, of course, all right, there's a little history here. The leaked version of it, was released online. They didn't
remember
all
that.
the effects. So that was the only version I saw. I never saw the complete version because I hated the movie. I didn't want to see it again ever. Oh yes, it pretty much almost fortunately destroyed the character of Deadpool.
Who?
Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds,
Deadpool,
wasn't
right?
it?
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was a total mess. At that point, it was so bad that remember they had a plan to do X-Men Origins Magneto after. They scrapped that and then basically made First Class, which was excellent. That's when they had in my opinion, First Class was a true, proper, kind of reboot of the franchise, right?
Yeah.
And then what came after that?
Well, there was Days of Future Past.
Right.
And then there was the Wolverine, if I'm not mistaken.
Wolverine came out, right?
Yeah.
Did the Wolverine come out?
Wolverine came out 2013.
That was before Days of Future Past? No.
Wait, right. Actually, yes. The Wolverine came out a year before Days of Future Past. So
right.
Wolverine 2013, Days of Future Past 2014.
The Wolverine was supposed to be this amazing big, they're doing the proper thing. And it's like, they're going to do Wolverine Japan. Fuck yes.
And the way how he's supposed to be. Grimy.
Right. Then no, it wasn't the worst movie ever. I won't go as far as saying shot the bed.
No, I enjoyed it for what it was. I forgot the director James Mangold, who also directed Wolverine. Yeah, I thought he did a great job with this. It's just that third act, boy. Oh
no. Yes, okay. So the two things, right? What they messed up is one, they squandered the opportunity of not making it rated R. Sorry, we had to see blood. That is what this film did, and
there was so much moments in the Wolverine where it could have been. You know, being R-rated, you saw like they were inching like a little bit close to it, but it's like no, you have to hold back.
And that was a mistake. The studio, like Fox, finally Fox, hopefully Fox would keep up the goodwill with these R-rated X-Men films, because that is the route you have to take. It is well received. You don't have to try to make this stupid, naive utilitarian calculation of saying, oh well, we'll make more money because kids. Like no. Stop that shit. You're undermining the director.
X-Men toys no more come out.
And it does show that nobody give a shit, right?
Yeah.
You'll make a movie, you'll make your money regardless. People are gonna see it. Don't worry about the rated R crap. That is just naive nonsense.
Exactly. But let me just talk about that third act just quickly about the Wolverine.
That was a shot the bed because
Silver Samurai being Transformer, no? Like nah man.
Yes, fuck that up. One, you're supposed to have a proper fight with ninjas, not this stupid nonsense about having them just be like they just like harpoon them together. Like what?
Well, no, wait, but that was a cool idea, but it could have been done way better. It could have been executed.
No, have a proper fight. The harpoon thing could have come after the fact, but have a full proper fight with ninjas, please. Choreographed ninjas fighting the Wolverine. Come the fuck on, man.
They're Devil Season 2 people. Come on.
I was like, what the hell they do with this? That could have been so epic just to see the Wolverine fighting fucking ninjas. I mean, come on. Is the Wolverine fighting fucking ninjas?
I know, right?
Whatever.
Right.
And then they decided to do that stupid shit with the Silver Samurai. Again, pretty damn stupid. Because they decided to do this convoluted plot with he had to kill the daughter and he want to become immortal. Forget that shit. Just have it be a guy who want to kill the fella daughter. He die and they have Silver Samurai as a goon. That's it.
Yeah.
Silver Samurai is hired to take out the thing. Forget the poison woman. Forget the weird poison snake woman.
I actually forgot about that character though. Like, geez, now I think about it. Like, why was she there?
Yeah, she's a pointless character. Yeah. Whatever. And then they decided to tease things by bringing in the Days of Future Past shit, right?
Yeah.
They ended it with Magneto.
Yeah, I always forget. This was a storyline that you hated for some reason.
What's that?
You weren't a fan of the Days of Future Past storyline, the comic book storyline, right? I remember it from the
storyline itself was alright. It's a classic. It's truly a classic storyline, but. Yeah.
I remember from the TV show, it worked.
Shitty job with that story.
Yeah, with the TV show, they make it work because of Bishop and Cable and those characters.
Exactly. That's why I was kind of annoyed with it, because it's like, yeah, Bishop's supposed to be the star, it's not fucking Wolverine, but they had to make Wolverine the star because it's Wolverine, right?
And so the Bishop was like in the background of Days of Future Past. I mean, don't get me wrong, Days of Future Past, you enjoyed it, but
so much more with that.
Yeah, but Bishop was in the back, yo. I mean, why?
Exactly. They could have done so much more with the material now.
Yeah, like he could have been the one to send Wolverine to the past, but they picked
I get what they had to do with it, but again, it's contrived nonsense of getting Wolverine to go back now. But whatever.
Yeah, but one thing I did like about that show, well, getting back to Wolverine a bit, is that they really established the man that he could actually be a leader. He could actually take charge. He could actually pull off a mission and stay focused.
Right.
It was primarily about him having to take this monumental task now, basically.
Right.
and how they make it work was great, you know.
Right. So what they do it? So what they decide to do? Okay. So with Days of Future Past, they do this kind of pseudo-ish rebootish something.
Yeah, non-canon to canon or whatever. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
They're basically right. So they say, okay, well, this is this, and then you get to reset that. So maybe
so X3 don't exist no more. You can throw away the Blu-ray, blah blah blah, whatever.
Not really that bullshit. Whatever. And so like, all right, cool. And I thinking, all right, we're going to get Apocalypse. Great. Which is a bad move in my opinion, because they should have gone. They should have gone. No, it's not that. It's not as a bad move implicitly if I knew how much they kind of shat the bed with Apocalypse. But in my opinion, they should have gone with House of M and then Apocalypse. But whatever. X-Men Apocalypse was just mediocre and forgettable.
Yeah, I liked it. There was some good stuff about it, but you know, for me, it was a less than great comeback in terms of like, you know, Bryan Singer X-Men. Like, it is the X3 of the new franchise pretty much.
Yeah, it was kind of
good. Not great, just good.
No, it was not for me. No, it was kind of bad in general. They just squandered such a good storyline. Like, you know, Apocalypse is a truly classic villain now. Granted, he's a big dumb 90s villain, but still, he's done so much more with that. And then it was just forgettable.
Yeah, but thank God they never bothered to do Onslaught, because that.
Well, Onslaught is just a terrible character. Period.
I remember him being like probably the most popular comic book character like ever during the 90s. Like, everybody was like, Onslaught, buy the Onslaught books, all this Onslaught omnibus, Onslaught. You know?
Onslaught is a terrible fucking character. Terrible idea too. Whatever.
Yeah, but he had to beat in Marvel vs. Capcom, just saying.
Yeah, you're right. This is not game.
Right.
Like,
so
I think there's a whole bunch of people knew him, eh? Not because he comes, eh?
You know.
Right.
So Deadpool now, and what Deadpool did in terms of the X-Men franchise.
Then Deadpool proved, you can actually put blood and R-rated cussing in your movies. Good. Make these movies from here on in.
In a Marvel movie with superheroes in it.
So Fox now, all the idiots at Fox, because I cannot just straight up admit it, the people at Fox have no business making this shit. Because from what I understand in the backstory of Deadpool, I think we cannot talk about this in the Deadpool review, is that they saw the footage that was shown, the CG footage, with the same bridge sequence. And they didn't want to show that. And it's only because Ryan Reynolds leaked it and the fans like make noise, then they decided to point out. If I remember correctly, that was the story. They still don't know who leaked it, but from what I understand, it's more than likely Ryan Reynolds or a close friend. And that was like Ryan Reynolds' last chance. So he had to, because he kind of done shit himself twice with Deadpool from before, and then Green
Lantern, yeah.
This had to be right. And it was right. It was like, yes, you do an R-rated film, it make money, it totally disproved that whole nonsense paradigm of, well, you need to cater to kids to make cash. And you know, the attitude is really not so much in making cash with the film. The problem is that they need to sell toys. That horse shit.
Exactly.
Right? That cancerous nonsense. And that is what's kill movies, because if it's all about the toys, then it's the movie to suffer.
Yeah.
Right? For me, a movie needs to be an end unto itself. Right? The movie will make money. Whatever.
Yeah, this is not Batman and Robin where the whole point was to sell toys. That's why the movie looks the way it does, because it was supposed to sell toys.
Anyway. Anywho. Wolverine decided to say, okay, stop shitting the bed with Wolverine, like get us done right. And they decided to write a great script with this.
Yes, and also this is the final quote-unquote time you'll see Hugh Jackman play.
I hope. I don't want to see no bullshit. Like, I know they might bring him back in a quick little cameo for something in Deadpool maybe, but I really don't want to see him coming back in any Wolverine movies. If you end it, please.
All right, what I'm thinking is that if they do continue the X-Men movies, you know, now that the clock pretty much go back, I think they might have a moment or two where you have to show Wolverine, like show his face there, not hint at it like how they did in Apocalypse. They'll more than likely. The problem is that they might have to recast. But here's the kicker. With the Wolverine film, they do this really. Now this is probably the best part of this film. They do this clever job of saying, all right, is this really part of the original continuity or not? And it's unclear, right? They never really say.
In fact, if you want to interpret it in such a way, you could say, well, none of the X-Men films happen, and this is the only real adventure, right?
Right.
And everything that you think is X-Men film is just a bunch of embellishments, right? It didn't happen. And this is the real world, quote unquote. And all of that shit
what we saw was fiction. Well, here's the thing.
Right.
No. Okay. Well,
what the comics?
Right. But what they're saying, like, from premise wise, they're saying that it's like I don't know, like some years after Days of Future Past. So,
Well, okay.
well, that's what they say. So I assume,
No,
okay,
right.
so the clock gone back, everything kind of back to normal. So
No,
something had to have happened between then, when the clock went back, and now,
no.
you know,
Right. So what
I
they do
don't
with
know.
it, what they do with it is quite clever. It's done in such a way where it doesn't need to be part of the same narrative because
All
of
right,
the event
right, right.
of Days of Future Past, the timeline shift now. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is just another dark timeline involving the mutants now.
Yeah.
Days of Future Past is one shitty timeline. There's another shitty timeline. It still is ultimately a better timeline because it don't have a big, apocalyptic war. But things didn't work out so well for the mutants anyway.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
right? If you want to hold on to that, but if you want to completely ignore the timeline, and let's admit it, the timeline have a bunch of big gaping plot holes in it,
Oh
right?
boy. Oh
A
boy.
bunch of stupid plot holes like mutants born in a different time and this character not born in this time and this character have a different origin because and it's like wait, but the time travel shouldn't affect that, whatever.
I know, right?
Yeah, they still like okay, well, and most notably Archangel and Jean Grey, they have a bunch of mistakes. It's pretty sloppy. You can just ignore that shit and just say, oh, it's just shitty comic book writers in the world. It's kind of like with Ghostbusters now.
Yeah.
How Ghostbusters, the animated series, did it. Ghostbusters, the animated series, to them, the movies was a fictional scenario.
Right.
Same thing. And our world is the real Ghostbusters.
Mhm.
This is how it really happened. Same thing. You can ignore that shit, treat this as its own story, and it works. And in some ways, it's better because now you don't have to think about the world as having all that silly bullshit.
Exactly.
Apocalypse and no nonsense. Just
Yeah.
it have mutants still, but it's much more grounded, much more dark, and much more realistic. In fact, the movie should have been more grounded, in my opinion, with some of the stuff. But yeah, as it is, it was great.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed what it did.
Right. Well, I'll just get to the plot in a bit. This is one thing that I really liked about the show is that it did not have to waste any time trying to connect itself to, okay, well, this is what happened. So
Right.
this has happened after Days of Future Past, and
Yeah.
no, this happened after Apocalypse. No, this happened over here. No.
Yeah.
It just tells its own story and leaves it up to you to figure it out, even though really you don't need to hurt your head over it because it doesn't make sense. So, premise, it's set in 2029, which was where the whole confusion at first about, which movie is this, is Logan following after? Is it from Days of Future Past or Apocalypse or whatever, right? But moving along. So, it's set in 2029. Mutants are pretty much nearly wiped out.
Right.
So, we only, well, right, at the moment, we're only seeing like 3 mutants right now. We're seeing Logan, played once again by Hugh Jackman. And he is just like a broken shell of himself right now. He's getting older. His healing factor is I don't want to say it's not existent anymore, but it's not as strong as it used to be when he was younger. You could tell he's just getting fed up of this life of, fed up of being hunted and killing people and stuff. So he's just doing this this chauffeur job now. So he has his limo. He's just like taking, people out, like these chicks who will go into this bachelor party, all this kind of stuff there. But he just doing it for money so that he could buy this boat. So he could take Professor X, his longtime mentor, played once again by Patrick Stewart, and a character I did not expect to see in this show, Caliban. I'll talk about him later.
Yeah.
And take them away from this pretty much dusty desert environment where they're at right now, and take them, put them on this boat, say let's get away from it all, and let's die with peace, basically. But of course, all that doesn't really work out because basically Logan gets this job to pretty much to transport this girl, this Mexican girl actually from one town to North Dakota. I'm not gonna say why exactly. And it's only when these group of mercenaries come, hunting this child down, trying to capture her back and, willing to do whatever it takes to get her back. It's only when, Logan and Xavier realize that, yeah, she's a mutant as well too. But what happened is that basically she has Logan's gene. So basically, technically in a way they call her daughter. So that way you could kind of say his daughter. Sorry, so you could kind of say that is Logan's daughter. But the name that she has, or at least the code name she has, is X-23. and she is just a force to be reckoned with. Like, don't get tied up with her, just because she's a girl and all that. She has claws, and she will just go down and just slaughter people, really press them, and all through that. Now the film kind of ends up being this road trip where with these characters getting from point A to point B, but it's really about Logan and him kind of getting that basically, it's like, he's kind of given up on hope. And this is another thing I love about the movie, about how hopeless and how devoid of hope this movie is. But he still sees a little glimmer of hope, and, just a chance to be a hero for one last time, through protecting this girl here. And that's all I pretty much want to say about this show, because I don't want to spoil anything about it. But what were your thoughts about it?
Right. No. Yeah. So what I loved about this film is the world building as well. So you really get a sense of how the world will be for a lot of people in the year 2029. You notice a lot of stuff like automated trucks, for example.
Yeah.
They had automated farming equipment. Government being kind of shitty, and you're hearing on the radio all the shitty stuff happening, like climate change getting bad, and
I remember that.
The world just deteriorating, society just kind of breaking down slowly.
Right.
People still living good, but at the same time, it have this kind of shitty political environment going on because of how it's a RoboCop reality.
Yeah.
It's not
and what I like though, like compared to say Days of Future Past, we don't get any opening narration.
No.
We don't get any montage about how bad the world is. We don't get that.
Yeah, it's not an outright dystopia, but it's a kind of working heterotopia, which is things are really bad, but not like disastrously apocalyptically bad, but it is bad.
Well, it seems normal. It looks normal. It appears normal, but it has some bad spots.
But it was just run down. Everybody just kind of depressed overall, this kind of stuff, and they did a good job with that, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, but it kind of felt like life was going on, because there were like there's a scene where they go into this casino and everybody's like, it feels like real time, but because of the all the stuff that going on, hence the through the world building, you understand that yes, there are some bad stuff going on, and not everybody is living great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just general poverty. The government. You get the feeling that people didn't vote for the right government. Hint. And
yeah.
Then it really focuses and kind of doubles down on another political thing. Hint. And it's really well done in that sense. Little stuff. Eric LaSalle has a nice little cameo in this. Great scene.
Yeah. And also, before I forget, Noah fits from somewhere. Elizabeth Rodriguez from Orange is the New Black. She was in it.
She was in this, yeah.
Yeah, she was great. So she was also in Fear the Walking Dead, which kind of says a lot about. Yeah.
And this did a good job with that, in my opinion. It built the world great. Again, the way how it's done is that you're not sure if the events of X-Men as you know it happened. So something happens in the past involving Charles. That's great. Or here's another thing. I wanted to know if anybody, you ever notice that is the word Xavier ever mentioned in the entire film?
Not
Professor
to my
X or Xavier?
No. I don't hear Professor. I just hear Charles. I just hear Charles.
But I've never heard an X. So we don't even know if Patrick Stewart's character is called Xavier at all.
Right.
It's Charles, but you don't know if it's Charles Xavier. So that could hint at all the whole embellishment is not the same world kind of thing now.
Yeah. And
we don't know what happened to the X-Men. We're not sure what happened to mutants. Exactly.
And right? I could tell like I have a lot of diehard fans of the X-Men movies that will try to connect the dots and say, well, clearly this happened after this movie and this happened after that movie.
I'm the kind of guy that would try to do that, but I don't really give a shit about doing that, frankly.
Yeah. But my thing, well, one thing that kind of bugs me, this is the one question that was dangling over my head, is that at the very end of the Wolverine itself, what I think is at the very end, or when the post-credit scene,
right,
where Wolverine was leaving, and then everything froze, and Charles and Magnus came and said, "We need your help."
Yeah,
I was wondering. Okay, just a reminder: is that to connect to Days of Future Past, right? Yes.
We don't know. That's the
but
problem.
They never really say, because I don't know. So I don't know if this movie here is, if it connects after the the events of the Wolverine or what. I don't know.
It's pointless. That's my problem. See, this is my problem with Fox. They don't care.
That's the thing that was bugging me through the whole show. Is this a direct sequel to the Wolverine? Because you have the same director, same actor, right? And
It matters
Patrick
because
Stewart.
you get the feeling that they didn't. Again, Fox doesn't care to keep this universe coherent. So that's why they did a smart job with this film by avoiding that shit.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
want to drop that and ignore the entire continuity, you could say F the continuity. This is its own movie, and this is what it does.
Yeah.
You don't have to care about another prequel. It's
Yes.
its own universe. You could treat it like that. That's how I treat Logan. The movie works better in that way.
Yeah,
You don't have to think about that shit.
Right, and also like the self-referential stuff that he had with the comic books in particular.
Right, exactly.
It's not just there to say, well, once upon a time we were great heroes. No, it's really to show that, yeah, this is what you know about us then, but we're gonna show you like the reality now.
The real attitude is that, well, a lot of it was a sort of bullshit. So the way how they treat it is as if all of that could have been bullshit and it don't matter.
Yeah, and I like how the movie was brave enough to say that, yeah, it's BS. Yeah.
Yeah,
Take
I like
that
that
however
too.
you want to. That's just it.
Yeah, I like
You
that
could
too.
believe it or not, but that's how I, as in Logan, see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, he went through
before that.
a lot of. He went through so much hell. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
The movie is all about disappointment. Now, this is not a disappointing movie. It's an excellent movie.
Yeah.
But it deals with the theme of disappointment. You know,
right.
things just not working out the way they should. It's
Especially from somebody like Charles Xavier.
Exactly.
Remember that dream that he had from the first movie about humans and mutants uniting and no more war between
exactly.
them. And look how things are now. Like, you
Dream
could
is dead
see.
now.
Yeah. Dream
It
is
does
dead.
that very well.
Yeah.
The dream is dead, and Wolverine now, and then the characters of Wolverine and Charles kind of switch places. Where now Charles is the dangerous one. Well, you learn why.
Yeah.
They do a great job with that.
And he is the more, I don't want to say sympathetic, but he's the one more in need of help, as opposed to like how Wolverine was in the first movie where Xavier had to calm that beast down inside of him. Yeah.
I thought Hugh Jackman and
Patrick Stewart.
the
The girl
and
Daphne Keane. Yes.
right. Thank you. Those three had such excellent chemistry in this movie.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Excellent chemistry. They had some good scenes. The scene, my favorite scene in the movie is when they met with Eric LaSalle and his family, and then that was great.
Yes, the dinner scene though, in particular, I really love that scene. That was a
really
nice
and,
moment of calm. Yeah, calm before the storm.
They show how
You've
she
been
had no
warned.
training, and now they had to lie about stuff and hide around. And then Eric LaSalle kind of picked up what was going on, so he kind of revealed what was going on with him and the scene. Pretty damn disturbing and sad eventually.
Yeah. That scene though was like,
as I say, Eric LaSalle should have had his soul. He should have let his soul glow a little better.
Good one. Yeah.
And then but the thing is, the only problem I have with this film is the action sequences weren't the best, and here's why. Now, I really loved and embraced claws slicing through flesh. Love it.
Don't we all?
Love the blood. But I thought a lot of the action wasn't shot particularly well, in my opinion. And it didn't have a good working use of space, so like characters kind of had to be idiots because like soldiers was just running straight up to the characters and then they cut the camera close. So it give you the illusion of action. But when you understand how the space works out, it's like, yeah, why would you come so close to the character and make it work and have it play out in that way?
You're right. There's one scene in particular I remember where the soldiers there with guns, right? The Reavers, so that's what they call the Reavers.
Right.
And they just waited for Wolverine to come close to them, and then Wolverine just runs up to them and stabs one of them.
It was really bad.
Guns. They could have shot at him when he was running.
Yeah, a lot of the action was very fully edited. And then the final action sequence involving the children was kind of dumb.
Here's what I saw what they were trying to do with it, but first off, one thing that kind of made it really underwhelming: the music. Like I'm not expecting like some Hans Zimmer kind of stuff, but I felt like with the music, it was just like them trying to do like an action score, so that'd be like dun, 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 dun. It just sounded real mediocre to me. And I felt like at one hand they try to focus on Wolverine just going crazy, Berserker Barrage or whatever. And then on X-23 doing her thing, and then you have the other children who have these powers, and it's like, wait, they're going to be like real dread, they're going to be like killing people. Okay, one or two of them do. Okay, well, what about the other person? Well, how can that person get caught?
That was my problem.
And then, just final thing, sorry there. Oh gosh, just seeing those soldiers trying to capture those kids, like running after them, hey, grabbing them.
That is one funny part with this fat black kid running.
He was running. The whole audience when I saw it was just like,
Yeah, that was
like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And he was basically, well, when you see what his power set was, like, he's basically fat static.
Fat static. I remember that. Fat static.
And so, but it didn't do anything. I thought we would have gotten either have it that battle be a little more intelligent, like you're ready. The kids really know how to use their powers. Didn't really do anything. That didn't make much sense.
It's just like when you're like an inch close to dying, that's when you actually pull out all these stops now. But yeah, gosh, man, you have X-23 in the middle of danger. You have these guys running around with guns and thing. Do something with it. Well, he was doing in that spot, just like chilling, just waiting for this one guild to show up. You could have been like more organized or like more prepared.
In many ways, they're more dangerous than X-23.
Yeah.
So I was like, why is that they not fighting or doing more with it? Whatever.
Yeah, but on the subject of
for me.
Yeah, but on the subject of that though, I like that we got to see those kids for one thing. I was thinking for some dumb reason, New Mutants for some reason, like they would be the New Mutants basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's X-Force. Yeah.
You got an idea of their power sets and stuff, but it doesn't like stop and say, well, my power is this, my power is that. This is not like I was hoping that it wasn't going to do like like X-Men and X2, where you had to stop and focus on one character and you see the power, then focus on this character, that power. They didn't do that. So I'm glad they did that. You know what I mean?
Well, if it was up to me, I'd write these characters out entirely. These kids don't need to be in the movie.
In a way, or at least they didn't need to have a lot of them. It could have been just like a few, just like scoring the,
I don't not have them in the story at all. I'd write them out. Just have it be about X-23 and Logan.
Right. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention too. I don't know if you picked up on it, but I felt like the moment where they reached that spot with the kids, it reminded me of Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
I
was like, hope they don't do that, because I don't like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome at all.
Right.
As soon as them kids came in, it's like, I just don't care. It's stop being about
a little bit of that. A little bit. Yeah, you're right.
Being about Mad Max, it started being about these dumb kids. So I was hoping that they didn't do that. Unfortunately, they didn't. It almost did, but I was like, okay, cool.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, the kids just, because they didn't do what they're supposed to do, and the action sequence just kind of they were just using the powers a little too selectively, in my opinion. That kind of slowed it down, because I was like, yeah, why did they just fight differently? They could have do this. They could have had a fight play out a little smarter. They could have made the Reavers just more armed and more dangerous. Period.
I agree.
And instead of trying to capture them, no, have them like outright say, okay, shoot to kill.
Yeah.
Just have it and make it badass.
And yes, and on the subject of the Reavers too, I like that they didn't have to stop to tell you, well, or at least in the case with the leader, why does he have a robotic arm and was he pointed at and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, you kind of know that. Well, right? That's the thing I really love about the show, is like it kind of doesn't stop to kind of explain everything. It just kind of shows you, well, this is what's going on right now. These are how these characters are reacting to said situation, or this is what they have to deal with. This is their disability and whatnot. But it doesn't stop and say, well, this is why he has a robotic arm. Blah 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 blah. No, it's not that type of show. Yeah.
I thought they would have done more with the Reavers, but again, because they had to keep things more grounded, they just keep it enough. But we don't see.
So they're the guy who can shoot.
Right.
To save their life, Jen. I mean, they shoot, but I mean, oh gosh, man, there's so much moments where, I mean, yes, Wolverine collects some bullets, but there's so much moments where any one of these characters could have died, but it's like, oh, let's just shoot in this one direction. Before I forget though,
it had the Stormtrooper clumsiness, no?
Yeah, the character that I wasn't too sure about, like just being there, believe it or not, was Caliban. Like, I didn't know he was going to be in it there. I kind of got why he was there, but was like, couldn't have picked somebody else, right? You had to pick like this guy who just looked weak, and because he's weak and because he's this, so he's like the expendable one basically. So he just
they had to figure out a way to push forward the plot in some way, shape, or form. So they had to come up with a character. It's like, all right, who's the character who could detect mutants? It's like, okay, Caliban, go with that. As I get it. Yeah. And they decided to change. Well, I don't know if I remember correctly if Caliban was ever like had problems with sunlight. I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember that either.
Right, but whatever.
Yeah. But I thought like his performance was good. But I was just couldn't help thinking this character need to be in the show. Could have gotten somebody else. I don't know. Yeah. I
don't know how they would do it, because they had to have the whole. He come across more like therapist more than anything.
Yeah.
So they had, Wolverine had to have his therapist depression scene, and everything was this depression. You're drinking still, and you won't heal, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And like, cool. And I found the bullet in your pocket, blah 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 blah,
That
and all
kind of
that.
thing, yeah.
Right?
Because you need somebody to kind of knock some sense
Right.
into
And it was
the
going to
already
be Professor
depressed
X.
not
It wasn't
Xavier,
going to be
Logan.
Professor X because Professor X have your own problems to deal with.
Yeah,
So, like,
I was surprised that this man was suffering from dementia, and then on top of all that, his mind is right now. He could if he could get unstable, and people could
right.
die or suffer in the process. Now that was
Yeah.
interesting. I like how they pulled that off.
Yeah, no, I thought that was actually quite clever and what they did with that.
Yeah. And I like that we finally got to see like a grumpy side of well, more like the grumpy old man to extent version of Xavier. He
Yeah.
just act like a just this old man, like, oh gosh, I don't want to take my pills, no, that kind of thing.
Right.
And just the back and forth between him and Logan, especially when he cussing and stuff. I thought that was different, and it made for some generally funny moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this last thing to say in closing though, what I would say personally is that this movie was surprising to me. It really set out to do something, and I thought that it did it well enough. Not perfect, but near perfect to me. I'm glad that James Mangold and the cast and crew took this really huge risk when you think about it, because more than we just slapping an R in it. It's really taking this character that is basically like the beast, the monster of the X-Men, and humanizing him to an extent now, really making us care for this person. And what I like about this show also too is how brave it was in really making him so vulnerable. Like this man just goes through one ordeal after another, and there's so much moments where this man could just lose his life and die. Other characters around him could lose their life as well too, and then it just makes for these gut punches that just show up every once in a while. You don't even see it coming. I mean, it is violent. Yes, there are some brutal moments in it. The one thing that really caught me off guard was a particular character that I did not see coming a mile away. And then when a character shows up and then Wolverine had a face off with him, I was like, wow, this is probably like the most intense stuff I have seen in the X-Men stuff.
That was kind of cool on its own, but I thought they was going to do something else with it. I'm not sure if that would have worked. But spoilers if I say what it is.
We'll do it, but I do understand what you mean though. They really could have done this a little bit more instead of just having this character be this, walking cyborg basically.
Let's just say I would have replaced that character with Liev Schreiber. That's all I would say.
Yes.
I thought that would have worked better.
Bringing back Sabretooth now, yeah.
It undermined the continuity, you know? But you don't know. You see, that's the smart part.
Why not still have this man be the brother though? But then again, I can't remember what happened to him in the in Origins. I don't know if he died or what. I don't know.
I would have preferred that personally, but I don't know. Whatever. Yeah.
But I thought that the moments when that character was there was just some of the most intense, most brutal stuff in the whole show, and it worked. Like this is probably the first X-Men movie I've seen that I was just like on the edge of my seat, just like, oh my god, this person could die, with the exception of, say, that fight scene between Deadpool and oh gosh, I forgot the bad guy's name. The first fight scene with them in when they have when oh gosh, the laboratory was in flames basically.
Okay,
like,
right.
The intensity of that was was just caught me off guard because of how funny Deadpool was, but in this case is like they just take that moment and just multiply by 10k. You just have so much of really brutal, intense moments like that. But I was just like, oh my god,
yeah.
And yeah, people do die, people suffer, and it's very grim, it's very bleak, it's very dark, and yeah, I have to applaud these folks for actually having the balls to actually pull something off like this.
Yeah, they do really do a good job with this, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I hear enough people say they compare it to Dark Knight. I like, no.
A lot of people are, because how you take the character and you not so much expand it, you just take it to this other level now.
If the movie was a little more conscientious in terms of the structure and the approach, I'd have probably do that, but not as this.
Yeah. Because what I would say though, well, before we get to rating, what I would say though is that it does drag a bit, especially in the second act. There were moments where I kind of was wondering where the show was going.
Right.
I'm glad it kind of had me on edge a bit, but at the same time I was like, okay, this is just gonna be it. Just them taking this girl over to the spot and them, what I mean? And really it's just those moments where they stop and rest. And I like that you got some character build up character
Right.
development and stuff, but still there were points in it where I was like, yeah, that's really what it's gonna be about. This road trip show, okay. You know what I mean? But it does
Right.
pick back up in the third act. I did feel like the final action sequence in particular could have been done way better. Especially that music was like, you know what I mean? But the payoff though, the emotional payoff at the end, I mean,
Yeah.
it did
That
leave me in
final
tears,
shot,
of
though.
course, but just the way how it wrapped up, and of course that final shot. Like
Yeah.
okay, I'll just say this quick this last thing before I get to my rating. Everybody throughout, like when I went to see, it was a packed audience, right? So people were like cheering and like, oh my god, when Wolverine was fighting, people laughing and going, oh, and all that kind of thing.
Right.
I was laughing and I was like enjoying it as well too. But you see that last shot, I'm not gonna lie, I was the first man to clap. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. No,
And then people just started to follow. I was like, yeah. That is how you do it.
Yeah.
That is how you end it off. That was a fitting way to end that movie. Although while I would have wanted a little bit more emotion, I thought for what they were going for, it worked excellently. I think, maybe if Bryan Singer was on board, you would have tried to tie it up to what happened before with the old movies and show, Wolverine, some montage with Wolverine and Jean Grey and all the other characters from the previous movies. I'm glad they didn't do that. It just ends, but they do this nice little tribute thing at the very end, kind of reminding you of the relevance of this character in this universe, this X-Men universe. I thought they did that, it was subtle, but it was so well done. So
Right.
while I wouldn't say this is, as great as Dark Knight, it is as bold and daring as Dark Knight. I'm not going to go out my way to say it's the best superhero movie I've ever seen in my life. I guess if I watch it a few more times, I might make that decision. But for now, I would say this is just a fitting end to the Wolverine saga.
Right.
I know people gonna try to tie it up, try to connect the dots with the old movies. So, the old movies will still feel kind of relevant. But to me, you don't even have to like or see the old movies to really appreciate it. You just have to know the character and what he does and have a sense of what he went through. And you kind of get that here in this movie without them having to show you this flashback and this recap about what happened in the old movies. You get the point, right? But just the way how they handle the character, especially, I forgot to mention though, Hugh Jackman though, totally nailed it as Logan. I'm not gonna say it's Oscar worthy, but he knows the character inside and out. I could just tell that this man wanted to bring this kind of depth and humanity to this character for years, and I'm glad that he got the chance to do that.
Right.
So, not much more I could say, but Ritan, let me go.
Yeah, no, for me, this film was, this is finally the character getting the proper justice it deserves on screen, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion, truly the first time. I really didn't care for any other Wolverine films on its own.
Yeah, the Wolverine could have come close, but...
That squandered the opportunity.
It squandered, yeah.
Right, but this one really does a good job with telling this story. I'm so glad this was made. I really hope Fox keeps up the goodwill and don't squander the goodwill with these R-rated films and keep giving us good R-rated comic book films. You're doing a good job with this stuff, Fox. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm going to give this one an IMAX. Solid IMAX. I enjoyed it. The good, there's bad in this, but the good so vastly outweighs the bad, I don't really care.
Right, totally agree.
It's so well done. Ultimately, it has solid, simple script. They didn't worry to make it too complex or anything like that. It's one of those movies that gets around its schlocky premise, because when you think about what's going on in the plot, it's a really schlocky, silly premise, but it works. They made it work. They made it emotional. Solid damn film for me.
Right. Well, on the subject of that, just last thing I want to say about the movie before I get to rated. Schlocky stuff, right? Going into film geek mode here. Just off of the titles alone, the font that they use.
Right.
I was thinking back like, those 70s and 80s movies like 48 Hours and Dirty Harry, those, even High Plains Drifter. Yes, it's a good thing that I mentioned High Plains Drifter because, it's a Western. Of course, James Mangold directed, the excellent remake to Treat Into Humor. And yes, there's this nice little scene where, Xavier's watching Shane, classic Western.
Yeah.
It has this Western feel, but I like that it has it's Western, but it also has this kind of like grimy 70s sort of grindhouse kind of style. The way how the text look now, I got that kind of sense that this is not some kind of overblown superhero stuff. So you're not gonna get the flashy X-Men, intro that you expect to see from from the old X-Men movies. It's not like that. It's just these flat titles, very big, very bold. They just come and just dissolve and all that kind of stuff. And it really harkened back to those old 70s and 80s like action movies. And I love how they did that. It really brought it down to earth and really made it kind of realistic in a sense, But apart from all that, I would say, this was the farewell that I wanted to see from this. It's a shame that we had to wait 17 years for this, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we finally got it, thank God. So I had to give this a decent 4 to 5 stars. It's not the best superhero movie I've seen, but I would easily say it's one of the best X-Men related, pretty much, movies I've seen like ever. I would put this up. Actually, you know what? I would say it's way better than X2, and probably the same. Although it's comparing this and Deadpool is like comparing Peaches to Oranges. I would put this up with Deadpool, Dread, but like in terms of like X-Men movies,
really only because for me, other than this and Deadpool, is only First Class I genuinely like as a.
Oh yes, I forgot Deadpool. Sorry, First Class and
right.
And Days of Future Past, which I.
But I don't really like Days of Future Past all that much. Mostly because it could have been so much better. Not so much as it objectively worse or anything like that.
Well, on the subject of that, I think that it doesn't quite hold up that much though, to be honest. Because like I watched it over before I watched Apocalypse. I was like, yeah. And I saw the road cut, by the way. The road cut is an interesting view. I really do recommend you check out the road cut. You'll see the stuff that they took out, and you'll be like, yeah, that's actually not bad though.
Right.
Yeah, that's like a good, interesting little piece. Piece of the story. I don't know why they took it out because of time. Because kids they're seeing, unfortunately. But yeah, the stuff that they took out was like really interesting though. I really think you should check it out. But yeah, all that aside though, I would safely say this is one of the best X-Men movies out there. If you're a huge fan of Wolverine or not, I like how the movie kind of plays that. You don't even have to be the biggest X-Men fan, the biggest Wolverine fan, to enjoy this one. This really brought a sense of depth to this character. Yeah. And I like that even though with the R rating, it did not forget about establishing the character and giving him depth and giving us a reason for us to care. So it's not just R because, we're getting to see violence and stuff now and blood and stuff. No. Is that we're getting to see a side of Logan that we wouldn't see before. The side that would make little kids who would have watched this movie if it was PG-13, irritable and, they want to get up and run about in the cinema. No, this is for adults. We sit down, we watch it, we feel what this character going through. And that's all we wanted, and that's all we got with this movie here, fortunately. So, by all means, check out Logan, man. Check it out.
Right.